Welcome back to Kimchi Rednecks. Today we have decided to do a challenge. Who challenged us? Nobody. We decided to challenge ourselves.
We also want to talk about something very important to Korean culture, which would be
Chopsticks.
jeotgarak.
Jeotgarak.
Jeotgarak. Many of you don't know that Korean chopsticks are actually different than Chinese and Japanese chopsticks. Let's discuss that a bit.
Right.
Korean chopsticks are typically flat and metal, completely flat. More of the Japanese style would be the wooden and a little bit more rounded. And the Chinese, I think, is a little bit longer and a little more round.
Yeah, I think that...
We don't actually have a Chinese style here, sorry. So, if we're at a restaurant and we want chopsticks, we ask for jeotgarak.
Right.
If we're at a restaurant and we want a spoon, we ask for
jeotgarak.
And you'll notice that the Korean spoon is a little bit longer than the American spoon.
So you don't burn your hand on that nuclear pot they bring out.
If you want a set, because you need a spoon, but you also need chopsticks, Chuck, what are we going to ask for?
In the good old Korean tradition of shortening words and jamming them together, sujo.
Sujo. So oftentimes, chopsticks, jeotgarak, are used for cooking. This is a set of jeotgarak that we use for cooking in our household, actually. These came directly out of our kitchen.
You'll notice they are a fair bit longer than standard chopsticks.
Which, there's a reason why, because they were typically used for retrieving your food directly from the hot pot or from the fire, and obviously you want a little bit more space between you and a hot pot and a fire. And they're safe in your nonstick pans, which is probably another reason why, because you don't want to screw up and use metal in your nonstick pans. So, we like our cooking chopsticks. We use them frequently. Let's go over, real quick, what is bad chopstick etiquette?
Okay, so in general, and this is pretty similar across different cultures, at a table you should pretty much let the older people at the table do things first. The older people sit first, the older people drink first, the older people pick up their chopsticks first. You don't eat until Granddad eats.
But if you're at a table, say at a restaurant, and you have to distribute the chopsticks, you do not let Granddad grab his unless Granddad wants to grab his. You, the youngest person at the table, would be the person who distributes all of the chopsticks to everyone, unless said elder chooses otherwise.
Yeah. Like drinking, the youngest person at the table is supposed to pass stuff out.
That's your job.
So, another thing is when putting your chopsticks on the table, you are not supposed to put the chopsticks on the left side of the spoon. Which
we just learned.
I was today years old when I learned that.
We were today years old learning that one. And the reason why is because typically when they are creating food for funerals or for the deceased, when they're celebrating their deceased, that's how they set them up, is the chopsticks go on the left side of the spoon.
Now, as a side note to that, you can get these little things right here, which is basically just a little spacer. But you can put that on the table because obviously a lot of people do not like the idea of just putting your stuff flat on the table. You can get these little things. They might be made of bamboo. They might be made of regular wood. They might be made of pottery like this. But it's just a little thing you can put your silverware on and keep the eating ends off of the table. So,
speaking of when you're eating, we were today years old when we found this one out. You're actually not supposed to eat your cooked rice with chopsticks. Etiquette actually calls that you actually eat your rice with your spoon. Rice and soups and stews with your spoon, and chopsticks for everything else. Yeah, that was today years old learning that one. You also need to make sure that you are not holding them in the same hand or at the same time. Now, the same time is a little bit different nowadays because the younger set has learned to do chopsticks where they pick something maybe out of something that's got a little bit liquid to it, and then they put the spoon underneath to make sure they're not spilling it. But often, Chuck and I were discussing, we've seen people actually put the bowl under while they're doing it.
Yeah, some places you'll get like the little rice bowl. Some places you'll get like a little flat dish, which is supposed to be for like your bones and stuff. But I've seen people use that, pick that up and...
Except we also have the other rule that we learned today is that you're not supposed to bring the bowl closer to your mouth to eat with your chopsticks.
Which I think not a lot of people really follow, because I see a lot of people, especially near the end of a meal, start picking stuff up and bringing it to their face. So.
Well, I've seen them pick up and like drink from a bowl, but I've not seen very many people pick up with the chopsticks at their face. So maybe it depends. Like if you've got chopsticks and it's under you, like you're eating here, but it's under, I don't think that would probably be the worst, but you're not supposed to put it to your mouth. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's a
we're not
technicality.
real clear on that
We're not very clear on that. So we brought out Panda Pool. I don't know if any of you guys remember. This was how I learned chopsticks, thanks to Chuck.
So you can, at least in Korea and Japan, I'm sure other places have them as well, get basically beginner chopsticks.
Hey, I love Panda Pool.
Some people call them children's chopsticks because the children's ones are usually a bit shorter and they actually have little finger holsters, little loops you put your fingers in to teach you how to use the...
This is probably for a little older of a child who has a little bit more grip, but maybe still needs a little help.
Maybe.
Or for people like adults that might need some help. Look, we've discussed this before in a video, but I didn't actually have any chopstick experience as a child. I also had very little chopstick experience as an adult until Chuck and I got together and he was like, you need to learn how to use chopsticks. Maybe did I embarrass you?
It was very embarrassing to go to the Korean restaurant.
It's very embarrassing when I asked for a fork, apparently. So, now that we have discussed all of those wonderful things about chopsticks, let's get to the challenge. So this came about because a Instagram friend of ours posted a picture of a piece of cake that he got at work and said that he found it very interesting because they do cake at work all the time, but they have to eat them with chopsticks. And I was like, that sounds very difficult. And Chuck's like, no, that's not hard at all. And I was like, well, let's do a challenge. Let's see what are difficult things and what are less difficult things to pick up. So our most difficult is going to be a grain of rice. And I think Chuck is probably going to be the only one that can get that.
Actually, so my dad was in the Air Force and he was stationed in Korea in like the 80s. And when he came back, one of the things that he told me was they considered that you were an expert at chopsticks when you could pick up like an M&M or a Skittle without dropping it with the metal chopsticks.
We're going to put these to the side.
We may test the difficulty with a couple different levels. If you can pick some of this stuff up with these flat steel chopsticks, because these have no texturing on them, it's flat steel.
So you want to keep these out just in case?
The wooden ones, because they're wood, have a little more texture to them. It's easier to pick some stuff up.
All right, so what is our order that we're going in? Because we have this little anju that we're going to use as one, obviously easy.
And no, we're not just going to stab the stick through the center of it and pick it up. You have to pick it up on the round side.
Well, dang. Actually, that's a no-no, too. You're not supposed to stab your food with your chopstick.
Yeah, that's technically
Oh, the other thing we didn't mention about not doing with your... You do not ever, 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 ever put your chopsticks in the bowl of rice stood up. You do not put it in your food, correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because that's another...
You should pretty much just never leave chopsticks in food.
Just don't put it anywhere.
Especially not in the rice.
From what I've read and understood, the basic plan for chopsticks when you're done with your meal is you put them back on the table. And they will take care of it.
I've never had anybody correct me when I'm done eating something about setting them across a bowl as long as it's empty. But...
You don't stick it in food
That's
ever,
questionable, but never leave it in food. That's going to annoy somebody.
So if you're coming to Korea... You're going to want to, if you haven't used flat chopsticks, you're going to want to practice.
Right. So I'm going to say the peanut M&Ms first. Then we'll do the regular M&Ms and the Skittles. We'll try those.
And then Tic Tacs.
Then Tic Tacs, because they're smaller. And then the rice.
All right. You ready to get started then?
The difference in these is going to be the Tic Tacs and the rice. You have to be a little more technically precise because they're smaller. Candy-coated ones, you have to be careful with how much pressure you put on them, because if you don't put enough, they're going to fall. If you put too much, they're going to slide right out.
Look, I'm going to be honest. The thing that I was the most excited about was when I was finally able to pick up green peas and corn with my chopsticks.
That is a fair accomplishment. That's a good...
I'm still not, like, you can ask Chuck, when we have ramen, I still have to have a fork because I get tired. I get tired of it. Of course, you're having to do that with two, so...
Well, I did it with the steel ones. I can.
Oh, so you know you can do it with the other?
I was like, if you can't do it with the steel ones, we'll fall back to the wood.
All right, so why don't you discuss with them how to properly hold your chopsticks while I pick up.
So there's about 2 or 3 general methods. It's probably rude to point at people with your chopsticks, by the way.
It is rude to point at people with your chopsticks.
There's probably 2 or 3 general methods of eating with chopsticks. Now, all of them are going to lead with one goes in the crook of your thumb in the webbing. And then the second is going to go along your forefinger with your thumb holding it in place. The difference is going to be in the second one. Now, the way I learned it was you have your first finger up here holding it, and then you're using kind of a bridge with your thumb to hold the second one against your middle finger. And this one pretty much stays still. That's your fulcrum point. You put that one in there and then you use the top one to grab.
He's really good at this.
Now, I've also heard people say that you can do it with the third finger and you do the first 2 fingers on this one. I find this incredibly awkward, but I can see where you could get more force with 2 fingers on the chopstick. So.
All right, so cake is next. Who's
Right.
going first in cake?
So I'm going to show you the way this should be eaten if you're not trying to make a hot mess out of it.
Okay. I obviously am going to make a hot mess out of it and end up with a spoon, I'm guessing.
So I'm going to go with 1 layer here first, but what you do is you find the piece you want to get, and you just kind of cut through it. Now you can come under it and pick it up kind of like a shovel. Easy as cake.
I'm going to make a hot mess.
There you go.
Actually, it was really good with strawberry in it, too.
Now, that one, of course, she didn't scoop under it like I did. She cut through it and then just kind of picked it up. But it's the same effect. It winds up on your chopsticks and you can eat it.
By the way, this is a fabulous cake that we got from Gravity Coffee Roasters.
But that was cake.
That was cake.
Easily done.
All right, so what's next?
Peanut M&Ms.
Peanut M&Ms.
This is also a little more difficult because they're rounded.
You made that look really easy, by the way.
You want to put your fingers a little further back in the chopsticks. That gives you a little more point pressure. The further down your hand gets toward the end, the more you're just trying to crush stuff together.
That's basically my plan, is to crush stuff together.
Too much pressure, it just shoots out of your chopsticks.
Can I get Panda Pool back? All right, screw that. Panda Pool.
Try the wooden ones next. Panda Pool comes after that.
Panda Pool's my friend. Hey, he has... Ooh, peanut M&Ms are a little bit harder. You made that look too easy. May is down here like, I can do this. All right, I can't even do it with Panda Pool. All right, wooden ones. I almost had that. You're just gonna let me suffer?
So, finally got it there. I'm gonna say...
I was gonna say, as he points at you.
As I keep gesticulating at you with my chopsticks, one thing we don't have on us at the moment is a pair of takeout chopsticks. So those takeout chopsticks you get that are a softer wood and they're square all the way down, have a little more surface area. They're a little easier to pick stuff up with. They're probably the easiest of the wooden chopsticks to grab things with.
I knew I was gonna fail at this chopstick challenge. I just didn't know how bad it was gonna be, Chuck. Go for it.
Ah.
You're making me look even worse.
All right, first off, your chopsticks are uneven.
I know!
You actually want the bottom one a little further out than the top one.
They move.
Like a, not that much, just about a half. There you go.
The cake was way easy compared to this. I'm still a beginner in my chopstick skills, guys. Even after 4 years, I'm still not fabulous at it. I don't, however, have to use Panda Pool anymore.
Basically, when I was, shit, I don't even know how old I was.
He was probably like 3.
I was like, not quite that. I want to say I was like 8 or 10 or something like that. There you go. This is when my dad got back and he was telling us about people eating M&Ms and whatnot with chopsticks.
You probably started, didn't you?
I got bored during summer break and I decided to try and eat M&Ms with chopsticks. So after a couple months of...
By the way, Tic Tac was not as hard as Skittle. Apparently, these are my chopsticks. These might be my chopsticks, Chuck. Apparently, Japanese chopsticks work a little bit better for me.
It's probably the texturing of the wood. Makes it a little...
All right, that's not fair. Dry the chip off. I noticed when I stuck those in, like a piece kind of sort of stuck there, and I was like, I could cheat, but that wouldn't really be fair to Chuck.
Hey.
I got 1 grain of rice, y'all, and I dried those off.
Ah.
I know I lost my grain of rice. All right, I can do that with... Apparently, Japanese chopsticks are my friend. So I have graduated from Panda Pool to Japanese chopsticks.
Did you try it with the steel ones?
No, but I'm afraid to because I couldn't even get those with the steel
Actually,
one.
I found that to be easier than the Skittles or the Tic Tacs because they're so small. There's a range on here. Now, when you're stuck out like this, you're trying to power things because you're trying to grip it. When you get to where they're about equally distant apart is where you're getting into the technical. And then the more the tips can get closer together, the easier it is to put force on it and grab stuff. You're way too far up on those chopsticks.
I know! I'm trying really hard. I was fine, and you were like, no, you have to try it this way. You know I can't. Apparently, the Korean chopsticks and I are not meant to be.
There you go.
I got it.
So, you too can learn. Honestly, I think the Skittles are the hardest of all these to keep a grip on. And that's how you just make a hot mess out of cake with chopsticks.
That was the whole point of that, didn't you know?
You don't get Skittles.
I'm eating my hot mess with chopsticks.
May, you was the good girl.
Oh, with Panda Pool, I can pick up Tic Tac.
With her assisted chopsticking.
And an M&M.
But don't be embarrassed to get the little one with the thing on the be it a Panda Pool or if it's a Pokemon or
Pororo.
a Pororo, which is a thing in Korea.
Hello Kitty.
If you don't have a whole lot of experience with chopsticks, you can get the ones like that don't have the little finger holes on them and they don't look like kitty chopsticks and just rock on.
Honestly, guys,
They're going to be more impressed that you're trying to eat with chopsticks and you're not just asking for a fork.
I got these when we were in Arizona because I had never really eaten a whole lot of anything with chopsticks and Chuck wanted me to learn. So I got them and then I shipped them obviously here to Korea. I don't take them out in public. I don't set them at the table.
She did originally. Every time we went out somewhere, she took them with her just in case.
I did. But then I learned I didn't have to because everybody kept offering me forks. So I don't take them anymore. But when I'm given these at a restaurant, I can eat. I have not starved yet.
Not yet. We're still making it.
For now. Bottom line, chopsticks. Jeotgarak. Jeotgarak. So if you want your spoon,
Jeotgarak.
jeotgarak. If you want your spoon and you want a set of chopsticks, because they come as a pair, you ask for
Sujo juseyo.
There you go.
Juseyo is please.
If you ask for chopsticks in Korea, Koreans, if you're in an area where they don't know a lot of English, they will not know what you're asking for. They don't know what chopsticks are, but they do know what jeotgarak is. So ask for your jeotgarak, you'll be fine. And if you are like me and you need to practice, you can set yourself up a little skills lab if you need to.
Give me the big ones.
You want the big ones? You want to see if you can do that with cooking chopsticks?
I'm going to see if I can do
All
that.
right, here's Chuck's challenge for himself.
These big long ones. Got the M&M. Got the Tic Tac. Got the Skittles. Got the Gegogi.
Can you get the rice?
Almost had it.
Oh, we got two. And dropped them.
And drop them. Grabbing 1 grain of rice with chopsticks this long is actually really difficult. Come on. It doesn't help that keep getting them uneven. There we go. It can be done.
Always have to show off, don't you?
Well, I like to be good at something.
I don't know what that means. He doesn't think he's good at anything else, or he thinks I suck at everything. Dang.
The world will never know.
The world will never know. Me and Panda Pool, we're just going to go off somewhere by ourselves.
Anyway, like, subscribe, do the internet stuff, learn to use chopsticks.
It is a good skill to have in your pocket. Definitely a good skill to have. So I don't regret learning, especially seeing as I live in Korea, but I wouldn't have regretted it either way because we eat a lot of food that requires chopsticks. So. And if you're cooking, get you a set of cooking chopsticks.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how useful they are in the kitchen.
They're pretty useful for stirring, and they're long enough that you don't burn your hand on the steam coming out of the pot. So
I like them.
y'all have fun. See you later.